Oh, no.
No. That did not just happen. Are you kidding me right now?
Did that really just happen?
So that Marchand dangles around Fisher. The shot scores! Brad Marchand!
To center, and that one kicked aside, but it's brought right back on by Marchand, and a shot. He scores!
Breakaway. Marchand beats and scores!
Brad Marchand, he'll dust it off. Shot taken. Score! Marchand, he'll drag it right in for a chance. He scores! What a goal!
Seth banks it down the boards to Brad Marchand. Streaking down the wing. Shot! Score! Trips ahead from Marchand. Tries to deke inside the backhand. Scores! Brad Marchand! And the Bruins pull it out in overtime. 3-2.
Welcome in, everyone, to Bruins Tape to Tape. I am going to be your host tonight, Maria of Watertown. We are recording on Wednesday evening, March 12th, post-trade deadline. Want to welcome in my still melancholy and probably sad co-host, Caroline. How are you doing post-trade deadline, my friend?
I keep moving through a couple of the different stages of grief. Right when I think that I have finally moved into acceptance, someone has a presser, and then I go right back down to anger and depression, and then acceptance again. So I think, like a lot of Bruins fans, I'm going to be on this yo-yo ride for a little while. How are you?
Well, I expressed my outrage, I guess, for lack of a better word, during our most recent snapshots. I think I have since then gone into a stage of like, did that really just fucking happen? That we traded our captain and, one of the best Bruins in history? It goes right up there with, the shock of, seeing Bobby Orr in a Chicago Blackhawks uniform, which I remember all too well. And I think I said it in our Discord, if I knew where Alan Eagleson's grave was, I'd stomp on it after the dirty deal he pulled when it came to Bobby Orr. But, now I'm just at a point where I don't know what's going on. I don't know how things got to the point that they got to.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, and maybe this is me just, always being pessimistic, but something still is amiss with the entirety of how the deal that sent Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers went down. And I'll tell you who I think is at the heart of the dirtiness that goes on with contract negotiations when it comes to the Boston Bruins. And that's
Does
Cam
his name start with a Cam and end with
Cam
a
Neely. No, I'm calling him out. Cam Neely, because again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, folks, and we're going to talk about this even further amongst other things Bruins related. But there's something that doesn't sit right with how this organization handles contract negotiations. And so we'll talk about that in greater detail, because I think there are still enough fans who have been left baffled, upset, disillusioned, pissed off about how the Brad Marchand deal went down. So that's one thing. The other thing we'll talk about is, the two press conferences that Brad Marchand gave as a result of the trade. One came a day or two after, and one was just most recently because he was in Boston with the Panthers, not on the ice, but He wanted to have an opportunity to speak to his former teammates because he didn't have an opportunity to do that when the trade went down because the Bruins were on the road at the time. We'll talk about our faith in Bruins management, both with respect to how they handle players and their contracts, and also our faith in how these draft picks are going to land if the current scouting staff and Don Sweeney are the ones making those picks, at least for this year. We'll also talk about, how we feel the Bruins' future may or may not look, or is it still too soon to tell, not knowing what this team will fully look like. But we will talk about the 2 games that they've played without Brad Marchand. And they've strung together two wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And our expectations for the rest of the season moving forward. I know. Can you tell, folks? We should be much more enthusiastic, and we will get there again. I think we've just had such a kind of a cold bucket of water thrown on us.
Yep.
With,
Yep.
Losing a player like Brad Marchand. And I think, any team in the city of Boston would be feeling the same as we feel if, the Boston Red Sox had lost their Brad Marchand, or Tom Brady walked out the door.
Right.
Literally walked out the door. The greatest football player of all time walked out the door.
Yeah.
So I know it happens. I know it's a business, but we as fans are entitled to feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
And I just want to make this very clear for anyone who's listening to our podcast, because I, for one, got a little bit pissed off and sick and tired of people telling me how I should feel.
Yeah.
That I should stop being irrational, that I should stop being angry, that I should stop feeling this. No. I get to feel however the hell I want. And I get to express whatever opinion that comes into my mind based on a situation that does it mean it's the right opinion? Maybe, maybe not. But I still have the right to express it, and I will express it in any manner and in any venue that I choose to express said opinion. So
I agree. And the fact of the matter is, your opinion, how I feel, how almost every person that I've spoken with feels, we're all feeling a lot of the same things. And that at least should make you feel better about, to some degree, that it's not completely out of left field. The very few instances where I interacted with people who didn't necessarily share my feelings, and I'll be totally honest, I'm not even sure if they were Bruins fans or what. But this here is my official statement on the situation. And I said this online, so if you already saw it, spoiler alert, but I still feel very, very strongly. Trading Charlie Coyle, Justin Brazeau, Trent Frederic, and Brandon Carlo, not easy, but that is a retool. 100%. Sure. Got it. Great.
And those were Cam Neely's words, folks, not ours.
Right.
So that was Cam Neely's descriptor of what he thought would need to happen either during the trade deadline or in the off season.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah. So didn't love it, but fine. Accepted. No qualms. Got to do what you got to do. We saw the writing on the wall. We knew that was coming. Trading Brad Marchand is a burn the house down rebuild that nobody was truly prepared for. and to get nothing of substance in return, initially, my initial gut reaction was insulting. It was insulting as a fan to the city of Boston, to every Bruins fan out there, insulting. I had not been this mad since they traded away Jumbo, seemingly almost as quickly at the 11th hour. And I said it before, and I will say it again, that this is going to damage the team in so many ways. Now, the very little counter argument that I did experience in conversation, if you weren't prepared for it, you haven't been paying attention. There's been talk about it for weeks, and it was the right thing to do to really break from the past and rebuild this team. Now, my response to that is twofold. I knew it was a possibility. If I hear the rumor, it's a possibility. Someone clearly thought of this and put it out into the ether. People listen, people hear things, whatever. But I also understand the depths that this had the potential to reach in the game on the ice, which was already bad. I know the locker room and the franchise. This is going deep into this team. Not just, oh, it's too bad that guy's gone. Like, no, this cuts deep. The fact that this was another terrible move, specifically by Sweeney and Neely, the history of the lies and the bad moves, the disrespect to a franchise captain for a half a bag of pucks is what made me mad. This was not necessary today in this way. Oh, but the argument is he's 36 years old. What did you expect? Well, he wasn't, and he was injured. He wasn't going to be playing before the end of this season anyways. So why do it? Why? Just because you can.
Second highest scorer on your team, by the way.
Why?
Second highest scorer on your team. And I know, right, before people come at me, that I made it abundantly clear in prior podcasts that I would not be adverse to trading Brad Marchand. It would, to me, be determined on the return. You got a shit return. Congratulations. You did Brad Marchand a solid. Did you do your team a solid by trading him?
Right.
For what?
Exactly.
For what?
Right.
How was that helping your quote unquote retool Cam?
Right. How does that help David Pastrnak?
Does it help you sleep at night?
What rebuilding? What change? How is this stopping the bleeding when you have, at the time, 18 games left to go? Nothing. They didn't get anything for him. Oh, a future pick. La-di-da. Well, we know how great of a drafter Don Sweeney is because his entire 2015 draft class is gone. And it's all conditional, assuming he can even play. Now, I am less insulted today about the return, and I will just say why. I still think all of this was unnecessary, not required, because he hasn't been playing for like weeks at this point. So you can't say, oh, look at the immediate change in the locker room. He hasn't been there in weeks. He's not there all the time. Come on, don't be ridiculous. But understanding that once Brad Marchand and his camp understood that this was going nowhere, and this is coming from his post-trade first presser in Florida, that he then decided, well, if there's a chance I can be better by the time the playoffs roll around, I want to play. And I think he has recognized and in a way has said that he has clearly a lot of respect for the competitiveness of the Florida Panthers and asked to go there specifically because he wants a chance at a cup. And I can't deny him that. But it was not ever necessary to begin with.
No, I agree with
There's
you.
a lot of
And
unnecessary
listen,
pain for everyone.
there's been all different reporting about the amount of money he may or may not
Yeah.
have been asking for, right? Okay. So what? So what?
Cap goes up.
So what?
So what?
So what? That's what I say. So what?
These are the, yes, I know it's a business. I get it. But at the end of the day, these are also human beings. And there is such a thing as brand value. Like, there is a bigger picture here that I think a lot of people are not seeing. And I think that, yes, he had, Cam and Don had to be aggressive if they really wanted to turn things around and not waste, 2-3 seasons? But they went too far. They just went too far. It was unnecessary. And they got nothing. Not just him. They ended up getting nothing for David Pastrnak.
I'm again, I was furious when I heard, not furious, but I honestly never thought they would have the balls to do it. If I'm going to be honest, I really never thought they would have the balls to do it. So then when it was announced, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, okay, let me be rational. All right, because I've been accused of being irrational. Let me be rational and let me see what the return is. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Do we have a return?
A long time.
Okay. Do we have a return? And I'm not the only person who was dumbfounded, flabbergasted, questioning. This is what we got back for a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go down as one of the greatest Bruins in history.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to fit into that Panthers team like a custom-made suit based on the way that they play. And nothing but the best. Nothing but the best. Did he have to go to Florida? If I was him and things weren't going the way that I thought they would go, or I wasn't being treated with any type of maybe loyalty, and I'm not saying this is what happened, I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
Maybe I might say to my agent, you know what? Screw them. Right. Screw them. Right. I want to go here.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yep.
Make it happen. Now, there's a lot of patting on the backs, and we did it for each other, and we want to do right by each other. We will never know how sincere that is.
Right.
How much, truth there is to that, because nobody, when you leave one employer to go to another employer, nobody should ever burn their bridges or cut their nose off to spite their face.
Right.
So you're not going to talk poorly of Sweens and Cam, right? They're certainly not going to talk poorly of a beloved player, one of the most beloved players in franchise history.
I mean, Don won't.
There were Fire Sweeney chants coming from the TD Garden again last night after the Bruins went down 2-0 in that game, and we'll get to that game later on. It's just one of those moments in sports that, as fans,
dumbfounding.
It's dumbfounding. We'll get to this lull where we'll say, okay, I'm getting over it. But I will tell you that if the Bruins make the playoffs and they end up having, a seeding against Florida, and we see him on that's when it will all.
That's when it'll start again.
That's when it will all bubble over again with the fan base, or when he gets back on the ice for his first game against his former
Anybody,
team.
really.
And
It's going to be the first time he plays.
Can I say,
First time he plays
is the
against
Boston Bruins marketing media people effing tone deaf to this stuff? They had a tribute video ready to play for that game last night when you've got a fan base that's still trying to wrap their heads around what's happened here. Give me a break. All right. Know your audience, know the time, know the tenor of what. I mean, luckily they didn't play it because he didn't come out of the locker room.
Yeah. No.
But
why would he? He's the man.
I'm just, you know what? I'm so frustrated. I think I'm frustrated with how this season has played out. Frustrated with how this deal went down. Sweeney had me when he made the difficult decisions on Charlie Coyle.
It
Brandon
was a
Carlo.
good trade day for the Bruins.
You
Otherwise,
got better returns. On those guys.
Yes.
Okay. Who have been less than contributing to this team this year. Their numbers have declined from last season.
But they got good guys in return. They got bodies in return. Casey Middlestat. Who's that? The new one.
Mazzy. I'm calling him. Yeah, Mazzy. Whatever. I'm not even gonna. Sorry, sir. I can't even try to pronounce your last name.
I think they call him. We're gonna call him Kuzi. I don't know.
Mazzy, I think, is his supposed nickname.
Right.
Haro looks good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And
having Jacob Lacko come back.
I'm very excited about that, and we'll talk about him in the games. But the last two things I want to say is one, I never bought, and maybe this is where I'm a little bit cynical. I never bought into the whole storyline of, even prior to the trade deadline, well, if he gets traded, he'll just come back. He'll sign back. And I'm thinking,
not coming back. He's not coming back.
That's too much of a fairy tale ending for me. And then when everything went down, I assumed the worst. And I mean, not horribly off base. I'm like, there's no way he's going to come back. And then watching the two pressers, the man has basically cried in both of them because of how hurt he clearly is, or how sad he is that this happened. And, you just listen and listen between the lines, essentially, that the door to come back to Boston is 99% closed. And I wouldn't be surprised if he and his agent are working on an extension for Florida, but he basically said that the kids and the family are staying in Boston next year and they're going to be apart. And, it's not a surprise.
Home. Yeah,
right.
This is their home.
And it's not a surprise that he ended up in Florida because of the number of former Bruins that are currently playing, or former Bruins who are in management. It's warm. He doesn't have to pay as much taxes. He'll pay 50% less in taxes because half his income is still coming from Boston. But the thing that helped me start to move forward, or at least get for the first time out of the anger phase and the despondency phase, I was pulling out a t-shirt to wear to bed the other night, and it was the boys t-shirt from what I call the perfect season. All the guys on the roster from that year. And, it was already 2 years ago, and I thought to myself, oh man, I'm really sad because there are only 5 guys left on the roster who were part of this team that season. And then I was looking at it for a second longer, and I thought to myself, I may be really, really mad right now, but I'm not mad at these guys. I'm mad at management. I'm mad at the organization, but I'm not mad at the team that has been left behind and the team, the new guys who are coming in. Like, I my heart goes out to the guys who are left behind, like especially David Pastrnak.
Mhm.
Half of his friends have just gotten the boot.
Shipped out.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really difficult. And then you have these guys, I guess in this case, it's a good thing maybe, that, Marchand wasn't traded for a body, because that person, who knows how difficult of a transition he may have had, in that locker room, like you're here and he's not kind of thing.
Mm. True.
And that's not the
Yeah.
case. But, you've got these guys who are coming in, and there is this big gaping hole in that locker room now, and they have to figure out how to put it all back together. And I'll be curious to see how they finish out the year. I think, in a little while, we'll talk about those games. But I think last night's game against Florida, that third period was this team putting out there, everything that they had in that third period to say, like, I think everyone's now counted us out. Our management has basically thrown in the towel because he gave away half the team, but we still have all of these games left. And I think that was them really trying to get together, and you could see in how they celebrated in their goals. And so I have been working through this by focusing on those guys out there on the ice and rooting for them, not the Bruins, like as a brand, but
No,
the
and
guys who are out there.
they deserve that support
Yeah.
from us.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap this up with, I find it really disillusioning that I understand that it's a business. I do understand that it's a business. But what happened to fucking loyalty, or sometimes just doing the goddamn right thing?
Yeah.
And sometimes this organization just can't get out of their own goddamn way when it comes to situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think you and I, and it took me a little bit of time to come around to your line of thinking, but given what I have seen and heard, and we'll go back to we'll start with, the Mitch Miller debacle and other instances of the Bruins not being forthright in how they negotiate. And again, right?
Krug?
This has been this team's, it even goes back further than that. This has been in the DNA of the Bruins franchise for many years, led by, Harry Sinden and all the way down through.
Yep.
So why I am surprised that there was no sense of loyalty or trying to do the right thing, I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised, I suppose. I shouldn't be surprised. And again, I would have been fine. And you might even hear me being supportive of management had the return on this player, Brad Marchand, been more significant than what was presented to them.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, right? That's your job. Their job, if they were determined to trade him, then their job should have been to get a better return than what they received. And I know, easy for me to say, right? It's easy to Monday morning quarterback. We weren't in the room. We weren't at that face-to-face meeting where things apparently did not go well. And since when does ownership have to sign off on salaries? Is that how the Bruins operate? Has that been the protocol throughout the tenure of Neely and Sweeney.
Yeah.
So we have more meddling owners in the city of Boston than across the country. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we've hopefully cleansed ourselves.
Yes.
Hopefully cleansed ourselves.
We've saged the
Somewhat.
podcast. Like,
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it
yeah,
get out
yeah.
the bad juju.
Right? We should have done a shot to Brad
Right.
Marchand. But we're going to move on to our next segment, which is we usually take a spin around the rink.
Yeah.
Before we do that, a little bit of tongue in cheek, but also a little bit of seriousness. We do have an NHL shop affiliate.
Yeah.
And it would be helpful to our podcast. The link is always in the notes.
Mhm.
But I'm sure that you'll find a number of Bruins jerseys on sale there. So you'd be doing us a solid if you purchase something through our shop affiliate. So, okay. In other news across the league,
Yes.
and you
It's
don't
been
hear
busy.
this happening very often in the NHL.
I know.
I wonder how much more it happens that we're not made aware of. But Aaron Ekblad of the Florida Panthers, an assistant captain, by the way, suspended 20 games
Yeah.
for using something that qualifies as performance enhancing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
These players, hell of a lot smarter, I would think, than we are,
Yeah.
have been educated, spoken to. How does a player, any player in 2025, not know what the hell they're putting into their body?
You knew what
And
he was
whether
doing.
it's
There's
on
no way.
Yeah,
Maria.
I mean, and you know what? I don't care. I'm of the mindset, let them put whatever the hell they want in their bodies. It's their body. Okay?
Yeah.
But if there are regulations, how do you not know?
You do know. You do know. You do know. I do not believe for 1 second if he didn't know what he was putting in his body, he's an idiot. And therefore, and I don't think any of these players are like, they're very conscious, especially, the leaders in the locker room and the veterans, like they're very conscious of what goes into their bodies, right? Like you don't play in the NHL for an extended period of time and not, treat your body like a temple, right? So to speak, like it's your job, it's your livelihood. So I think his statement was a cop-out. Like, I don't obviously have any evidence, but you didn't know? Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on
You
it too.
wanted to, I don't know if he's been
And
injured
now
or
your
whatever.
team is trying to finish first, right?
You want to come back. I get it. You want to,
yeah, right.
you'll do whatever it takes.
Now you're not coming
come
back
back.
to the playoffs.
Right.
Because-
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that he was, again, I don't know if he was injured. He said in the statement that, he was trying to come back from an injury, had injury, whatever. I'm not saying that I think, he was doing it to be a cheater and, like nefarious reasons or anything like that. I think that like a lot of hockey players, they'll do what it takes to keep playing as much as they possibly can, and they don't want anything to stop them. Like hockey players are these machines. I mean, I've seen a lot of like really fun little videos and shorts and things by people who are new fans of hockey, probably coming off of the Four Nations, and some of their responses are like, these people, they won't, if they're not playing, that's because they're basically undergoing surgery. And it's like, yeah, so I'm not surprised, but don't come out here and say, I didn't know it was in there.
Right. I just found it, I don't want to say shocking, but, it's not something that you hear about happening, to this degree of like, you got whacked, man, 20 games, you got whacked.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
so,
big deal.
even though our little bottle of hate is now on this team, we still find a little bit of pleasure in when
please,
good
yes.
things happen to the Florida Panthers. So
Yeah.
there you go, folks. Maybe a
Yep.
little bit of a kind of a, I don't know, can we call it a silver lining to this whole thing? But anyways, moving on. Jonathan Taves
Mm.
is contemplating a return to hockey.
Yep.
He suffered, had a very long illness.
Long
after-
COVID.
Long COVID illness.
He had long COVID, yeah.
Yep. And ended up doing some kind of unique and interesting therapies. Sounds like he might have, gone the Aaron Rodgers
Mm.
route at some point and is exploring a return to hockey. Now, reading this article sounded like maybe he was leaning towards going back to Chicago. Why he would want to go back there is beyond me. But, I
Yep.
would maybe take a flyer
Yeah.
on him. If he's
I mean,
engaged,
he's-
right? If he's engaged and ready to go and ready to play.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is he's 36 and he hasn't played
And he
since
hasn't played. I know.
2023, and not playing for an extended period of time, that's going to be really difficult. I mean, look at, Gabe Landeskog. I feel for him. I feel for Colorado, but
Yeah.
even if he could come back, that's a long time to
Is
not
it the
play.
right
And
thing to do for yourself, right?
yeah, these
Yeah.
guys are machines. So I don't know.
But the difference there is that, the physical nature of Landeskog's injury, I think,
Right.
is different than what Jonathan Taves went through. Not to diminish
Right.
the illness that he had, but
Yeah.
in terms of potentially trying to make a comeback. Listen, if you're any a young team that's looking to try and build a championship pedigree,
Mhm.
why not consider?
Right.
Why
Yep.
not consider him?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. We
So
shall
yeah,
see.
I'd be I'd be curious to see where this story lands.
Yeah.
Milestone for Nathan McKinnon.
I know.
Was it last night?
Yep.
The
Last
1,000
night, 2 nights ago, what have you? I don't even know what day of the
Oh,
week
the
it is
10th.
anymore.
It was.
10th.
It was the 10th. Correct.
Yes.
You are correct. It was the
Yep.
10th.
1,000 points. Yep. Pretty
That's
quick.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
Man, that
feel like
team is
he's-
a wagon.
He's kind of, I don't know, from an outsider's perspective, not being like in the Colorado scene, he seems a little underrated in my mind. I always forget about him, when I think about all the current great players in the game. Unfortunately, he's not one of the names that immediately pops out in my head, but
I know, and it should.
stupid.
'Cause
I
he's
should.
no, it's not you. I mean, he's a superstar.
Yeah.
And he's one of the most elite talents in the league, but I think having
He's one of
him,
many on that particular
right,
team.
in that West Coast market, and in that market, we don't see that
Right.
team
Right.
enough,
Yeah.
Kill
Twice a year.
McCarr is a stud.
Yeah.
Right? I'd love to see him play on TV more
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
because he's joyful to watch.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to Nathan McKinnon
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
this Mikko Rantanen trade. I thought the drama in Vancouver was a little
Ooh.
delicious, but this one's a little spicy too.
It
when you get
is.
Rob Brindamore coming out and saying that basically Rantanen said, "Yeah, I'm not staying to play here." So-
Yeah.
and now Rantanen is trying to walk it back, and who the hell knows? He's wound up in Dallas.
Yeah.
But what a
I think the funny thing is that probably would have been the headline blockbuster trade news from Friday if it weren't for Brad Marchand's trade. Because I think that one was just shocking across the league. And I've listened a little bit and read a little bit about the Rantanen situation. And initially I thought, man, Carolina, like they gave up so much and they got like nothing in return. They got rid of Natchez and, had to deal with him or whatever. Why wouldn't you, like, who cares if he's a rental? Like, he's then clearly there for a singular purpose to get you over the hump in the playoffs because you've been getting stuck year after year at like the same place.
Right.
But then when I heard about like his comments and stuff, I'm like, oh, maybe actually him staying could very well have been worse for the locker room. So maybe it's okay that he left, but they still then got left with like nothing.
He sounds
They
like a
gave up
pain
a
in the
lot.
ass. If
Yeah.
you ask, he sounds like a pain in the ass to deal with, to be
Yep.
honest with you.
Yep.
So,
So good riddance. He's not in our
yeah, the Hurricanes
conference,
might have
so-
done themselves a bit of a favor there by
Yeah.
shipping him.
An expensive mistake, but
Yeah,
better to pull out sooner rather than later.
and later when it's too late.
Yep.
And then Ovi watch. What are we down to?
Ooh, we are almost there. We've got 9 goals to break the record. 18. They have 18 games left. I
You
believe
think he
they're
can do
playing.
it? I mean, that's averaging. Yeah.
They're going to be playing. I think are they playing on the very last day of the season?
Yeah, and
Potentially?
they're playing a bunch of games this week, but I think they're on the West Coast. So, we'll be asleep if, as he's scoring goals and cutting down the number to get closer to the great one and breaking his record. But
Yep, they do play on the last day of the season at the Penguins. So he's gonna be close. It's gonna be down to the wire. I'm so nervous. I want him to be able to retire.
I know, don't we all? Well, he probably does too, to be perfectly honest with you.
Can you imagine? He's like, I got to play a whole season for one stupid goal.
Right. Yeah, they're on the road, so the Caps are playing the LA Kings tomorrow night, which is Thursday night, March 13th at 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
So, we won't be awake
No.
as he's scoring these goals, but we'll certainly hear about it, and we'll keep everyone updated on that. So that is our little spin around the rink.
Yeah.
With all the latest breaking news. We're going to take a little ad break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get back to our Bruins talk.
Indeed. Gear up and support the pod. The Bruins are making their push, and there's no better time to show your support. Whether you need a fresh jersey, a cozy hoodie for those chilly playoff nights, or the perfect hat to rep the team every day, the NHL shop has you covered. With the trade deadline, playoffs, and offseason all coming up, now's the time to stock up on all your Boston Bruins and NHL gear. Plus, when you shop through our affiliate link, you're not just supporting the team, you're also supporting your favorite Bruins podcast. So grab your gear and help the pod. Check out the affiliate link in our show notes.
It might not feel like it, but spring's right around the corner. Know how you can tell? Golfers are hitting the links, and we have some tournaments to talk about. And if you want to do more than just talk, put your money where your mouth is and get in on all the tee to green action with DraftKings Sportsbook. From Thursday's opening round through the closing round Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with tournament props, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. If you've never bet on golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick something simple, like a golfer to win the tournament, and make your pick. It's just that easy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Welcome back in, folks. So when we last recorded, it was before the trade deadline. The Bruins had a game against the Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina and lost in just the most typical 2024-25 Boston Bruins style.
It was like a comedy of
Oh my
errors.
friggin' God. But nothing was more classic than watching the response from Tuukka, Razor,
I
and
know.
Bergeron during it was one of the unobstructed view games, and the three of them looking like deer in the headlights. And you can tell that what Tuukka really wants to say is, did that really just fucking happen? But it can't because he's on TV.
I
So
know.
why don't you set the stage for how?
Awkward.
Now, let me say this. This Marchand hadn't been traded yet. We were, so he's injured. McAvoy's injured. Lindholm is injured. We've got a lot of young players in the lineup.
Yep.
And the Bruins went pretty much toe to toe with
They did.
pretty good Eastern Conference foe in the Carolina Hurricanes.
They did. And this was the first game, I believe, that the Bruins had without Trent Frederic. So they'd already experienced that trade. And I don't believe, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we did not get we got bodies for that trade, but nobody that was present on the ice.
Correct.
And you're absolutely right. They tried their hardest. The Bruins ended up surprisingly with 34 shots on goal to Carolina's 23.
Yep.
And not
Killed them in the
surprising.
face-off dot. Killed them.
Yep.
Destroyed them. Bruins were cooking at, over 60%.
Yep. Geeky surpassed his career high goals. He scored 2. So it was a good game in the sense that, they're at that point in time still clinging for dear life on the wild card raft. And the long and the short of it was, as Nikita Zadorov is making I would argue, questionable pass to begin with.
Yes.
Even if his stick hadn't broken.
No, I think my comment
I feel like it
was,
could have gotten picked off anyways.
what the hell are you doing? And I've said that a lot with him this season. Like, I just sometimes wonder about, to steal a phrase from Jack Edwards, the hockey IQ. Sometimes I just wonder where it is.
Yeah, I didn't love that anyways. And so, of course, the hockey gods, the trickster one, said, "Oh no, you don't." And that Seth Jarvis took advantage, and
Shattered stick, Zadorov stick shatters, and
poor Corpy had no chance.
no. And you know what? Jonas Korpisalo, I have to say, for how much time lags between his starts, he's played pretty well for this
Although
team.
this one was shorter, gap.
But in general, right? Because we've had conversations about, does he need more work? Should he get more work?
I would like to see him get more work, but
he's been solid. He's been solid for the Bruins. So they just weren't rewarded. It would have been nice to take a point out of that game at a minimum.
Yep.
But, again, in typical, if anything that can go wrong, for the most part, has gone wrong for the Boston Bruins this season.
Yeah.
So that was the game. Yeah. On 3-6. Then we fast forward to 3-7. We've talked about that in great detail, but just to recap, we trade Frederic's gone, Brandon Carlo, Charlie Coyle,
Justin Brazeau. That was in the middle of the night. Happened after the Carolina game.
Right. So that's when we wake up and find out this isn't really a retool. This is a freaking rebuild.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And now
so
this team has to go and play against a Tampa Bay Lightning team that added some more depth to its roster, prepping and beefing up for a potential run. I think they're a little bit of a dark horse going into the playoffs, but I wouldn't count them out.
no.
And so, our team at this point is decimated, basically. We even kind of, through the tears joked, well, okay, do they even have enough guys? Do they have to fly anybody in? Well, all the new guys got right to work, and I recall in past years that wasn't always the case, where they would give the new guys, a little bit of time, acclimation, learn some play. Nope. You saw on the ice for that game the very next day after the trade deadline, every single one of the new guys, they were out there. So Yoki Haru was out there. Lauko was back. Who's whatever his name. I'm struggling now. Middlestat was there.
I can't. No, he's just going to be named Matt.
Husnudinov. There we go. Husnudinov.
There you go. You're going to say it because I can't even.
I will say it.
And
Husnudinov
I've got
was
two
there.
C's and a couple of I's in my last name, and I am struggling with that player's name.
So, and then they also had Vinny Lettieri was there, Patrick Brown. So they fielded whole team and by some miracle actually got a shutout. So I don't know.
And Tampa had been shut out in I don't know how many games, but it had been a significant number of games that Tampa had not been shut out in, and Nikita Kucherov did not record a point in God only knows how many games.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Now, I will say this. I don't think Vasilevsky, he didn't seem at his best. Be that as it may, the Bruins still won this game 4-0. Cole Koepke, 2 goals. Who saw that coming?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good little boost, and I think both this game and the first game at home after the trade deadline, I'm coming at them with a measured response. I'm worried that what we've seen is kind of one of those emotional bounces like you see after a new coach or what have you. So we'll see how they continue to somehow come together. I mean, Swayman was completely on his game that against Tampa. I think he had his first star. So
he was pretty locked in. He was pretty locked in. So that was really good to see.
Yeah.
And right. So, and honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I had them getting decimated by the Lightning. I really did. I did not see this coming at all. And so maybe there was some complacency on the part of the Tampa Bay Lightning thinking, shit, this is their first game after they just traded their captain as well as, other core players who were viewed as leaders on the team. And so maybe they thought it was going to be, easy pickings for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Be that as it may, I'm glad that the Bruins started their quote unquote new era with a win. And then we fast forward to last night's game against the Florida freaking Panthers. Like, could the scheduler have had some type of a premonition about what was going to happen on March 7th to have this game be at home right after the trade deadline? Oh, by the way, in which the Bruins trade their freaking captain. But okay, I digress. But anyways,
This one was difficult for me to watch because it was at home. I mean, full disclosure, also, I ended up watching the Tampa Bay game on delay, and so I could fast forward through some of the worst parts, the least entertaining parts. But this particular game, I also thought was going to be a bloodbath. And, the Tampa Bay game, Tampa was not as good as they normally are. So, I'm not saying that the Bruins were like awesome in Tampa. They just didn't blow an opportunity, I guess.
Right.
Which
none of the games, let's just face facts.
They've done
Whoever's
that
been on the ice this year, none of the games have been awesome, right? Even when they've won games, they haven't been awesome games. We've talked about what a slog it's been to watch these games all season long.
Yeah. And so for the game last night, it was surprising because I couldn't tell if Florida was struggling or if the Bruins were doing a good job of neutralizing everything that was out on the ice. I mean,
I'm going to give them credit for doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them credit for doing a good job.
Yeah.
And neutralizing the Panthers, especially. Right? The third period was the most entertaining period of the game. And who's going to be entertained when you're down 2-0 and the fucking refs gift the Panthers a 5-on-3. But again, that is just it's officiating is a hopeless topic of conversation, and it's a hopeless situation, and it's never going to be resolved. Yeah. We have coaches who are being fined $25,000 for speaking their minds, and the league doesn't seem to think that they need to hold their officials accountable for when they screw up.
Yep.
But
so last night's game, obviously the two goals. Well, the first goal that Jeremy Swayman let in, terrible. Shot.
He should have had it.
That was awful. He should have had that.
For his day.
That was
and
terrible.
Something about our friend Jeremy Swayman.
Yep.
He gives up a goal like that. He skates out of his crease and into the corner. That's when I know he's saying to himself, I should have fucking had that. And he should have fucking had that.
He knew. He knew what he did.
No screen, no nothing. You got to, I'm sorry, but he's got to stop those. I know it was a bullet, but you see it.
It was the first shot. It was just above the glove. I will say for the second goal that he allowed, I thought in the moment that he might have it because it was a little bit of chaos. He was up, he was down. And right before the shot came where the puck crossed the net, across the goal line, he did get up and square up against the shooter. And seeing that made me think there might be a chance. But that one, I think I wouldn't necessarily have faulted him because that thing, it was chaotic. It would have been a miracle if he stopped it. He was saved by the whistle much later at the very end of the game when it was the final seconds. And we all know how well the Bruins do in the final minute of not just any game, but games against Florida. Saved by the whistle because that puck crossed fully into the goal that would have tied the game.
His bacon was saved by the refs blowing that whistle. Yeah.
But I was ready to go to sleep. Not going to lie. It was okay. It was fine. It was still not an exciting game to watch otherwise. And then David Pastrnak
goals.
Everyone up.
Third period. Yep. He woke the building up too because it was a little quiet in that building, which has happened throughout the course of the season when the Bruins have gotten down because there is no ability, there hadn't been an ability that we saw of any pushback or potential for a comeback. So of course, you're lulled into that. Here we go again. They're down 2 goals and they're just not going to be able to make their way back into it, which honestly, I was starting to check out of the game. And then
I was too.
made it 2-1. I'm like, okay.
I was like, all right, let's see. And
Let's
it
see
wasn't
what
just
happens.
and it wasn't just because he scored the goal. Like, the vibe on the ice changed. The way that the team responded changed. And it all of a sudden became an exciting game. And that rocket from Mason Lowry, I got to tell you, this kid, he has grown so much without Charlie McAvoy present. He has been given this mantle of responsibility out there as essentially right now the only offensively minded defenseman. I don't know Yoki Haru, what kind of player he is yet, if he is also of that mindset, but like without Hampus Lindholm, without Charlie McAvoy, there are no other offensively minded defensemen on this roster right now. And so he's really picked it up.
Like, he's been now elevated into, again, maybe
career high 5 goals,
1B or 1A, because from what I saw of Nikita Zadorov last night,
he was locked in. Holy moly.
Where the hell has that been?
I think I've only seen him once or twice this season.
I mean, where has that player been all season long?
Yeah. Unbelievable. And, it was an exciting final few moments, and I can't believe that Pavel Zacha actually hit the broadside of the barn this time.
Right.
And actually got that game winner.
It's about
for his 13th of the season. And Pasta got his 80th and 81st points of the season, and it's I think it was his 6th career 80-point season, putting him in rare company with Esposito and Bork. So
and he's been exhibiting. I think he has been exhibiting some leadership skills that have been building throughout the course of this season. Whereas now he's been elevated into that leadership role. I don't think the Bruins, and, we can have a conversation maybe, in future podcasts about who the next captain of the Bruins may be. I don't think it's going to happen this season, nor do I think it should happen this season. But in terms of how he carries himself, both on the ice and off the ice in post-game conversations, he's basically establishing himself as unveiling, a new leadership regime, for lack of a better word. But you know what? The best
carrying the team.
And he's learned from some of the best. Let's face facts here, right? Let's face facts.
Yeah.
Best part of the game, though, for me, hands down, even if the Bruins had lost this game. Nikita Zadorov kicking the crap out of that dirty rat. Sam Bennett was beautiful.
It was amazing.
As
he was livid.
And you know what I loved too? Because they got 5-minute major penalties. It was at the end of the game. As Zadorov was skating off the ice, he let Bennett know. And and he let Bennett know, I'm not done with you. I am not done with you.
I love it.
What a punk Bennett is. Knowing that Zadorov is coming after him to kick the shit out of him. Now you're going to try to grab David Pastrnak, right?
Yeah.
And then he tries to throw his patented sucker punch. While this guy, again, right? I know some of it is gamemanship and it's how the Panthers play.
Right.
But I think many people across the league last night and this morning who saw that said he got what he's had coming to him for years.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Interesting fact. I don't know if you happened to notice this, but actually in the last 2 games, there's only been one letter on a sweater out there. David Pastrnak.
That
No
may be
other
intentional. That may be intentional.
Yep.
And now here's why my theory on that.
There's no one else left?
Well, I mean, that and perhaps, right? Perhaps management, coaching staff is waiting to see what transpires over the course of these, whatever few games here to make a determination. Okay. Who's going to be worthy of wearing an alternate A or putting that alternate A on their jersey?
Yep.
And I'm not opposed to that if that's what the thought process is.
No, I agree. The only kind of question mark that I have around that is, well, if something happens out on the ice, I mean, technically, the only people who can go and speak with the officials near their little circle area is someone wearing a letter. That's why, like, if you don't have a captain, you can have up to 3 A's out on the ice, because that way you're spreading, who can talk with anyone. And
Well,
that
and
responsibility falls completely on Pasta. But right now, he is the only one really officially who is carrying and holding this team.
I suspect that by the time we get to the upcoming game against Ottawa, you'll see someone sporting an A, if not 2 additional players. I would be hard pressed to think that they
just administrative purposes on the ice.
There's been a lot going on in Bruins Nation, so maybe that was something that we're like, we just can't even wrap our heads around this. Tonight we're just going to go with.
We're out of respect too.
Yeah, maybe right. And I'm fine with that. But I would be surprised if we didn't see someone. Hey, who knows? After the way Zadorov played last night and kicking the crap out of Sam Bennett, would I be surprised to see him wearing the A against the Senators? No, I wouldn't be.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, I guess.
But the Bruins still find themselves on the outside looking in when it comes to their playoff positioning in the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Their time is it hasn't run out, but the fact that everyone else ahead of them has games in hand, it's an uphill climb for this team. There's very little margin for error at this point in time.
Yep. They are chasing the Columbus Blue Jackets. They currently have 70 points with a .547 points percentage. And ahead of Boston, you've got Montreal and the Rangers. All 3 teams have 68 points. But again, like you said, Montreal has played 64 games. The Rangers have played 65 and Boston has played 66. So by points percentage, that puts Boston in that 3rd spot out with
and the Red Wings
win,
again, you've talked about this, it's up for grabs. They, I mean, the Red Wings aren't totally out of it yet either.
Right.
The Islanders aren't totally out of it yet. We're just talking about the wild card spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we've said it before. The Boston Bruins, including this new revamped model of the Boston Bruins, they control their own destiny. They cannot look behind them. They cannot hope that this team beats that team. You just need to put your head down and you need to conduct your business.
Yep. Exactly.
So before we close things out here, I just want to ask you, based on these 2 games, based on, the addition of Casey Middlestat, Jacob Lacko, Yukihara. What's his name? That I'm not even gonna. Mazzy, is that did I read that?
Ustedinov.
Ustedinov. Is it too soon to tell? Is it too soon to tell?
Oh, yeah.
To think about what our expectations are for the remainder of the season. Are we going to wait until we get a bigger sample size?
Yeah, I'm going to need, ask me in like 10 days. Ask me in April.
Al. You do know we record every week, right?
Ask me in April how I feel. Yeah.
So, yeah, Bruins' upcoming games. And these are, again, they're all big games, folks. But this is a big point game swing when they're facing the Ottawa Senators.
Well, it's all divisional, too. We've got 3 divisional games coming up.
We got the Senators on Thursday night, the 13th. The Lightning again on Saturday night at the TD Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the lowly Buffalo Sabres coming in on St. Patty's Day for a nighttime game.
And the Sabres have caused us trouble, so
I know they have.
Guarantee.
I know they have. I say that tongue in cheek, but
exactly.
So, overall, they did put a bit of a smile on our face with that third period. I went to bed very happy to see Nikita Zadorov just smash Sam Bennett. That was worth the price of staying engaged in the game. But,
I was happy to see them so happy, especially when Lohrei scored and then when Zacha scored. You could tell after those goals, I think things have been difficult for the guys.
Yes.
So.
And I'm sure things have been very emotional. They're humans, right? We've talked about this before.
Yep.
They're humans.
We dehumanize them all the time.
Friends, their wives are friends with the other wives. And when, it comes time for, a dramatic change such as this, where core members of your team, and again, all of which we knew was a potential, we had speculated previously about who might go, who might stay, still makes, still hard.
It is.
It's still hard. And you and I are fans first, right?
Yeah.
We're fans first. So, but we're still going to support our Bruins in whatever manner the roster takes shape.
Exactly.
So thank you all for watching, listening. Please don't forget to give us a rating, subscribe. You can find each of us on a variety of social medias, X, Mastodon, Instagram, you name it. We're everywhere.
We're there.
We're everywhere. We try to be everywhere. We get around. You
can't miss us.
But thank you all for your time and for supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And in closing,
go Bees.
Go Bees.